Well, sweet child of mine, how did it come to this? One of the most criticised fights made in recent times. It's none other than Fury versus Ngannou. So why all the hate? Why all the backlash? Well, let's unplug the back door of this uncalled for matchup, spread open the controversy surrounding it, and see why it's actually worse than we once thought. Strap in! Well then, it's very difficult to remember a fight announcement that has received as much of an angry reaction from fans as this one. Yes, looking deep into the history of boxing, the last time I've seen a fight slated this much was all the way back in December last year when Fury fought Chisora. Brilliant. But anyway, I do have to point out that even though I do talk an unholy amount of bollocks, I did predict this one correctly in a recent video. Have a little look. Here's a proper prediction. Picture this scenario. I reckon it will be Ngannou. Yes, there we are. Stick with proper, you'll be alright, bosh. So then, before we talk about how the fight will go and who will be the winner, because obviously that's a difficult one to fucking call, let's discuss the damning reaction to this so-called game changer. Well, obviously, being as it was undisputed, being as it was a clear matchup between the two best heavyweights on the planet, we all wanted Fury versus Usyk. When this didn't happen back in April, we were double fuming, but we said, alright, okay then, but fight a decent top 10 or top 5 Fury and we'll let it slide, bruv. And in the meantime, we'll just pin our hopes on the Usyk fight happening in this apparent Saudi showdown at the end of the year. Yeah, well, apparently not. Instead, we get one of the best boxers in his era fighting a boxing debutant, an MMA legend, but a boxing novice. It really could be considered in line with one of them misfit shows or them kingpin things. And you know what? Just off topic, I do feel the need to have a rant about that show the other day when this happened. Look at this. Absolutely disgraceful, I've got to say. This is totally unacceptable. I mean, who is this girl? Let's have a look. Hemsley, something, Daniela, I don't know. Someone, I've never heard of her. Yeah, anyway, no, it's just polluting our great sport with tits. And you know what? I totally agree with Eddie.
You always ask me my opinion. My opinion is I hate it. All that stuff, misfits, kingpins, it needs to be booted so far away from professional boxing. And we really need to disassociate ourselves with what it is.
Yes, absolutely spot on, Edward. He's hit the nail on the head, ain't he? And good on him for not associating himself with this sort of trash whatsoever. That's a proud man right there, people. Well done, Edward. What is the world coming to? Fucking liberty. Anyway, I hope I've made my point. Right then, back to Fury. So then, was there no top 10s available? Or what? Well, not exactly. Zhang was available. Jared Anderson had a fight announced in May, so there was some time there. Frank Sanchez was also available. Makhmudov, possibly Ruiz, Hrgovic, or even bloody Chisora. Why not? I mean, at least he's a boxer. Fuck it, I'll watch it again on the Fire Stick. Anyway, old Frankie boy on TalkSport put to bed the reasons why none of these were even considered.
What's he got to do? Sit on his backside and wait and
No, he could fight a boxer. He could fight a boxer.
Who?
There's plenty of guys in that top 10 of the
Tell me,
WBC.
who?
What about Makhmudov?
Arslanbek Makhmudov or Frank Sanchez, they're 4 and 5, Frank.
Hey, man, I mean, what planet are you on? We're in the business of selling events here. They walk down the street, would anyone know them?
Bloody hell, just look at Adam's face. He looks like he sat down for a shit after a chicken booner and there's no toilet roll. You're arguing with a man of experience there, Catchall, me old son. I'd give that one a swerve in future. Anyway, so Frankie boy, is that how it works nowadays then? Sanchez and Makhmudov are two of the best heavyweights on the planet, but because the casuals don't know them that well, they'll never get to fight Fury or fight for the WBC world title. Brilliant. I mean, come on, Andy Ruiz wasn't a big name before he got his opportunity against Joshua. And let's be honest, Fury himself wasn't a mega name before he beat Klitschko, but they both got the opportunity to be great and succeeded. It just doesn't really seem fair that these boys were overlooked. But then again, that's boxing, I suppose. Frank is right though. Obviously the Ngannou fight does make a lot more money than pretty much all of these names we mentioned. However, you bet your front bottom it doesn't make that much more money than one particular fight and one particular name that he could have fought, and that name is Usyk. Now I'll come back to that. So it came to light the other day that Fury posted this way back in February and quickly deleted it. We never clocked on at the time, but the post signified one very important thing. Big news coming, and two words we are hearing a lot lately. Game changing. Yes, the particular line used by Frank and Fury for the Ngannou fight. So it seemed that if this Ngannou fight was planned around the same time as those catastrophic negotiations were going on with Usyk, then one could say the intentions were never there to actually fight Usyk in the first place. Not to mention his repeat call out of AJ back in May. Surely the Ngannou fight was near enough sealed at that time. So what was that, a load of bum fluff as well? Who knows? But the double big question is, why does it seem the intentions were never there to fight the so so-called middleweight for the undisputed? Well, it's speculation, but maybe it was because if Fury was to lose to Usyk, the Ngannou fight was more than likely gone forever, along with the multi-millions it produced. And just an observation, but Fury and Warren have obviously made this fight for the financials. However, does it really produce more money than the mega undisputed that was supposed to be set in Saudi? I'm going to go on a little riff here, and I may be talking my usual bollocks, but just hear me out. So Francis Ngannou is apparently getting anywhere from $8 million to $18 million according to reports. Nobody knows the exact figure, but on the other hand, the figure for Fury has been rumoured around $50 million. Now, is he that much of a bigger name than Ngannou, so much so that he's going to potentially earn 3 times, 4 times, maybe even 5 times the amount of one of the world's most famous MMA stars? Is Ngannou going to let that slide in the negotiations? I'm not so sure. Now, since these numbers get stretched all the time, more than likely Fury's probably earning a figure around the $30 million mark. But this is very similar to the same figure that Bob Arum said was on the table for the Usyk fight in Saudi. So in a nutshell, it's just simply difficult to see how there was any other intentions than to have an easy fight with a non-boxer for the same amount of money as a difficult fight with a world champion boxer. That's the back and front of it. And when Tyson says things like this:
Cunningham was the hardest fight I ever did have in my whole career, amateur or professional. The reason being, he was very slippery. He was light on his feet, he was weighing 208 pounds. He was a slick, talented boxer, and I tried to walk him down, use my size and power, but he was just outboxing me.
First round, according to CompuBox, Fury. Oh, he's knocked down. He's knocked down.
Yes, when he says things like this, it does become apparent that since Usyk is the same sort of stature as Cunningham, he more than likely saw Usyk providing even more difficulty, being leagues ahead in terms of skill. Now, the majority of criticism comes from Fury claiming to be one of the greatest heavyweights ever, yet not making the fights that may define his legacy. Floyd Mayweather and Muhammad Ali, who are both considered the GOATs of the sport, did in fact cross over with other combat sports, but it's been pointed out that they did it after they had cemented their legacy, after they had fought everyone in front of them. However, I will say one thing: if Mayweather had the opportunity of a mega fight against a UFC fighter during his prime, years before he actually cemented his legacy, you bet your fucking bummo he would have done it, because that man loves a pound note. But anyway, that's irrelevant. The point is, they made their mark and then they tried one of these so-called game changers. Now, there's something we have learnt about Fury with the announcement of this fight. If he wants to make a fight, he does it in the background, negotiating in silence, and when he doesn't want a fight to get made, he shouts his bollocks off into a camera. But unfortunately, he and Frank badly misjudged the reaction to this fight, and the fact that they've called it a game changer when Mayweather and McGregor did exactly the same thing is a bit confusing. Just out of interest, what did Frank think of that first boxing MMA crossover in Mayweather-McGregor?
Conor didn't really do anything in that fight, did he, with Floyd?
I don't know. I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't watch it.
So you weren't interested in watching that crossover fight, but we're all supposed to be double interested in this one. Do the fucking maths on that. Sadly for Frank, the way he feels about the Mayweather-McGregor fight is the way the public feel about this one, no matter how much he tries to convince us. And just on that note, to be honest, it's all just a bit confusing, Frank's justification for this fight. He's slamming Joshua for fighting Dillian Whyte, and yet Fury just fought a washed-up Chisora who got knocked out by Whyte. They then claim this is the biggest event in boxing, but the first heavyweight undisputed fight since the turn of the millennium would have been more than likely even bigger. It's all a bit ruddy skew with, innit? And then, just as we thought things couldn't get any more nuts, in the same interview he drops a bombshell when asked if the undisputed fight will ever happen.
When this fight is over with Fury and Ngannou, will we be pursuing the undisputed title for the heavyweight division though?
It depends who holds the belts.
Yeah. And this is why the fight has an even dodgier tone to it than we first thought, because I'm not sure why it matters who's got the belts, whether that be Usyk or Dubois. But it's sounding like if Usyk still has the belts, this may be a problem. It just screams a kind of desperation for Dubois to upset the odds and snatch the belts from the Ukrainian, which would then make way for an easy in-house fight to be made for the undisputed. And it has to be said, Dubois would be a much more tailor-made opponent for Fury, having the same stature as the Chisoras and the Dillian Whytes of this world, who he can play with and keep in his range all night. But once again, Frankie Boy is misjudging this one as well, because Dubois will need to pull off a huge upset. upset, and it's ruddy hard to see it happening. Now on a lighter note, the one good thing to come from this fight is Ngannou is getting his life-changing payday that he ruddy well deserves, because Phil Mitchell seems to have taken the fucking biscuit with him over the years, never paying him more than 600k, double liberty. So yes, well done to that man. Now as promised, here's my detailed breakdown and analysis of how this fight will go. Fury wins by fucking miles. There we are. So we shall see come October when Fury does win if that undisputed fight will ever actually happen. Because assuming Usyk wins as well and Wilder is potentially tied up with Joshua, there will literally be nowhere else to go other than the undisputed. No, sorry, he's got a rematch clause, hasn't he? Oh, fuck me, no, I forgot about that. Well, alright, after the Ngannou rematch, maybe a Sefer rematch after that, and then the undisputed will absolutely be the only thing left. And if it doesn't happen, the Fury legacy will ultimately be questioned. Come on, Fury, don't let us down, bruv. Just give us the undisputed, me old China. Bring it on. Thank you, you're all legends. Alright then, bosh.